everyone. My name is Lauren Etheridge, and today I'll be talking with you about extended reality and immersive learning. My goal is to define extended reality and give some of its uses, to do a little show and tell about Discovery Education's immersive learning opportunities, and to talk about what immersive learning is and some of our design and evaluation considerations when applying it to different types of education. Extended reality is a type of technology that adds to, eliminates, or alters the real or physical world, blurring the lines between the physical and digital world, and can be described as a virtual continuum with the fully physical world on one end and the fully virtual world on the other. If you've ever seen the movie Ready Player One, those are kind of the two different extremes I think of in my head, even though we're not quite to the same level of virtual reality as Ready Player One in some senses. But in between those two extremes, we have the continuum, which includes AR, or augmented reality, which is digital elements layered on top of the physical world, and MR, or mixed reality, which are digital and physical components that are together and can interact with each other, and then different levels of virtual reality that can replace one or multiple senses with digital simulations, and those make up our virtual continuum of XR, or extended reality. When we talk about augmented reality, more and more common uses of this is showing up with smartphone uses and different apps. Some really common ones are Snapchat using filters to interact with real faces but giving those digital components, or apps like IKEA's Place app that will let you see something virtually in your home before you purchase it. As far as education goes, we can use apps such as, or a website such as WebAR, or apps such as Time Capsule to bring to life different elements that students may not have another opportunity to interact with. For example, teachers could use QR codes to link to digital representations of objects and things that the students are studying to create a gallery walk or a scavenger hunt around the classroom or the school, to allow students to view those 3D digital images of a variety of objects, from historical articles or artifacts to artwork or even a human heart. With mixed reality, we're combining those physical and digital elements again, whereas AR only needs one device, so like a smartphone or a desktop or a tablet, to be able to view those digital elements. Mixed reality oftentimes involves more equipment. So you may be able to use a tablet or a smartphone or a laptop, but you might not be able to interact unless you have a special set of headset or glasses or gloves or manipulatives to manipulate the digital components. For example, in the sports world, Zwift is a very common mixed reality form where it takes the digital virtual world and pairs with a smart trainer to allow users to ride different terrains and experience different locations as they're doing an indoor bike ride. And they can even meet up with other riders and communicate through the virtual elements. In education, one example would be Frogopedia, which takes our infamous dissecting lab and takes it from the kind of icky physical world into the less cringy digital world, where students can manipulate the digital frog and not have to have a live or no longer live frog in front of them. Then when we get to virtual reality, of course, we're talking about the most immersive experiences, thinking about virtual field trips that make the student feel like they're in another place. So those could include tours to museums or using Google's art and culture, virtual reality that helps you experience different locations, or even hands-on trainings. Now, these do require specific equipment like headsets or even handheld equipment or haptic gloves, those types of things. But they can also be inexpensive in some cases too, like Google Cardboard. I have third grade students who have VR headsets at home and will meet up with other classmates on Roblox to play together and interact outside of school hours. So you can use virtual reality for entertainment, for personal development, such as learning, for professional training, or even just the same types of things for educational purposes. Like this option is Energy Encyclopedia VR, which takes students on a virtual tour of a energy plant and allows them to interact with all of the things happening there in a safe environment that obviously probably would not happen in real life. But with the need for additional equipment, that also puts limits on schools and different organizations that may not have access to those. And so that is one reason why I have chosen Discovery Education Immersive Learning for my XR show and tell. It is compatible with desktops. So our school is one-to-one with Chromebooks and students, so this is a great option for us because we do not have any VR headsets in the school. But there are also VR components with the Discovery Immersive Learning that we can use as well. And I'll let y'all see some of this. I really like it because it is super immersive simulations for students. It's got game-based learning. It spans across multiple subjects, multiple grade levels with its applications. It also has educator guides that you can use for pre-learning considerations to plan for lessons. It has even some extensions for after the simulation experience that you can expand the lesson plans. And I love that it is also accessible to teachers and students without any kind of account. So that's great for student privacy, and that's always something we need to consider when using different types of online or digital components. So this does have immersive learning right in its title, but what is immersive learning? Immersive learning is learning through interaction and personal experience. It gives students the opportunity to explore and interact and to expand their learning in a safe environment, and deepens their understanding of topics that are presented. One of the articles that we read, Computers in Education, found that most of the studies they evaluated for virtual training or immersive learning reported positive results and significant learning gains when comparing immersive learning to traditional learning. And this can be due to a number of factors such as higher student engagement and more buy-in, as well as better generalization of skills because of the hands-on nature of the learning. However, I did find it interesting that they also cited a study from 2015 that reported that the effectiveness of virtual immersive training was less effective than traditional learning in high-achieving students, equally as effective for moderately achieving students, and more effective for students with low academic achievement, which I thought was just very interesting. But it also leads me to believe that immersive learning through virtual reality can be used as an extension of learning for higher achieving students, or as a means to differentiate instruction and bridge gaps between student learning levels and help level the playing field for students. It also highlights the need to continually evaluate our teaching practices and the materials we're using, whether they're AR or MR or VR. In the same article, the researchers used the Kirkpatrick model of training effectiveness to evaluate these virtual training studies. And though this model is not specifically designed to evaluate K-12 education, as a teacher, I thought this model gave an interesting viewpoint to consider. The Kirkpatrick model has 4 levels, one being the most basic reaction, and 4 being the highest results. Now, teachers are always encouraged to begin with the end in mind when we're lesson planning. We take our standards and work backwards to what we want the students to be able to do and understand. We then create assessments and lessons and make curriculum decisions. And on the surface, this seems to equate to the Kirkpatrick level of 4 results. However, the description of this level is measuring long-term organizational benefits. And when I think about my students and my class and my school as an organization, the main goal of education is not just to meet standards and achieve test score goals, but it's to drive the drive of education should be to cultivate our lifelong learners. Yes, we want to make sure that we're covering our standards and teaching in a way that reaches as many students as possible, but educators should strive to spark that curiosity in a student that drives them to explore beyond the required scope of education. And extended reality is opening more and more doors for educators to do that, to inspire our students, to get them reaching out and exploring more. We just have to be willing to step through those doors. So in conclusion, extended reality is blending the digital and physical world. It's opening up opportunities for immersive learning through experience and experiences that have not previously been open to students. But at the same time, we need to constantly evaluate how we're using these digital components, what we're using them for, and exploring new ways to apply them. So thank you all for listening, and I hope you found it insightful.